Welcome to the recording of Microburst Error Resolution 38 USC 1728 and 1725 ambulance claims in ECAMS. The learning objectives for this recorded session are processing the 38 USC 1728-1725 ambulance claims accurately in ECAMS. The objectives: 1. Validate ambulance transport meets 38 USC 1728-1725 criteria. And 2. Accurately resolve or refer 38 USC 1728-1725 ambulance claims. Our one and only topic is processing these ambulance claims in ECAMS, so let's get started. Ambulance claims are no different from any other claims we process in ECAMS. Each ambulance claim is part of an episode of care for one of our veterans. How we process each episode of care depends on the eligibility of the veteran for the care he or she received. While we should all be comfortably familiar with eligibility, it never hurts to do a quick review. As you see here, we have our eligibility pyramid. Even with the implementation of Mission Act, this has not changed. 1703 authorized care is also referred to as Mission Act or pre-authorized care and is at the top of the eligibility pyramid. Any enrolled veteran is eligible under Mission Act if administrative eligibility are met for emergency care. At the second tier of the eligibility pyramid is 1728 unauthorized care, which is also referred to as service-connected care. Only veterans with a service connection rating are eligible under 1728. Finally, at the base of the eligibility pyramid is 1725 mill bill, which is also referred to as non-service connected care. Veterans who do not have any service connection rating, or those who are not P&T, or whose service connection is not related to the care received are eligible under 1725. 1728 and 1725 eligibilities only cover emergent care, and that emergent event must not be eligible under 1703 Mission Act. We start at the top and, if needed, work our way down. Now that we have reviewed the eligibility pyramid, our first step in accurately processing ambulance claims is to validate the ambulance transport meets 38 USC 1728-1725 criteria. In this lesson, we will discuss how to identify the transport and how to confirm that the 38 USC 1728-1725 administrative eligibility is met. Since 1728 and 1725 only cover emergent care, we must identify the transport to ensure the drop-off location was a non-VA facility. Here are some tools in ECAMS we can use: HIPAA file details, claim ambulance info, and the service line list with the modifiers. If any of our research leads us to determine that the care is associated with a Mission Act episode of care, that the transport is to or from a VA facility, or that the transport is not emergent, the transport then needs to be reviewed by beneficiary travel. On professional claims, the pickup and drop-off locations can be located in the HIPAA file details. As you can see, the ambulance pickup location and the ambulance drop-off location give you addresses. Generally, on your professional claims, you will have the title or the name of the facility. Pickup and drop-off locations can also be found under Claim Ambulance Info. However, this will not give us the name of the location. If this is the only drop-off address we can locate, we will have to use an internet search engine to determine the type of location. The service line list confirms the ambulance procedures and lists the modifiers. Remember, ambulance modifiers tell us the type of pickup and drop-off locations. The first letter in the modifier identifies the pickup location, and the second letter identifies the drop-off location. In order for the claim to be emergent, the final drop-off location must be H for hospital. We may encounter a modifier I in the drop-off position. This is a site of transfer between locations, for instance, a helipad or an airport. It is still transport to the final facility destination, which is the hospital. Today we are focused on 1728, 1725 ambulance claims. These transports must be emergent, therefore our drop-off location and modifier must be H for hospital or I for en route to hospital. All 1728, 1725 ambulance emergent events or emergent events end upon discharge. Transport home from these events is considered non-emergent transport and should be processed as such. When the ambulance is owned by the facility, claim data regarding the transport is often scarce. If at this point we still have not been able to identify the episode of care or the transport, we do have a few other resources we can use. If the claim is paper, we can view the original claim form in DataNet for pickup, drop-off information. DataNet may also hold the trip notes, which will give us that data. If the claim is electronic and records were submitted with it, we can use ARS, Attachment Retrieval System, to locate the trip notes. Finally, it is also possible that pickup and drop-off locations can be identified in JLV through records, notifications, notes, and other documents. In order for the ambulance claim to be processed under 1728 or 1725, the transport must be to a non-VA facility and administrative eligibility must be met. As you can see, the tri-chart listed here shows authorized emergency treatment, service-connected care, and non-service-connected care. I've crossed out the authorized emergency treatment because in order for an event, including the transport, to be eligible under 1728 or 1725, it must first not be eligible under Mission Act or authorized. The great thing about service-connected care and non-service-connected care is those eligibilities did not change with the implementation of Mission Act. Service-connected care administrative eligibility is the same now as it was before. The veteran must meet one of the following criteria. The care was for service-connected condition or adjunct condition that is aggravating a service-connected disability, or the veteran is permanently and totally disabled due to a service-connected condition, or the veteran is in a rehabilitation program and needs emergency care, such as voc rehab. And the final eligibility, the timely filing must be met on each claim, and claims for service-connected 1728 care must be filed within 2 years. Under non-service-connected care or 1725, the veteran must meet all of the following criteria. The care was provided in a hospital ER or similar facility. The veteran has received care from VA within the past 24 months. The veteran is financially liable to the provider. VA is a secondary payer to other health insurance or third-party liability. The care is not eligible under 1728. And all claims for 1725 non-service-connected care must be filed within 90 days. We'll do a quick knowledge check here. You can go ahead and pause the recording to think about what we have discussed up to this point. What 2 items do we need to validate to ensure the ambulance claim is eligible for processing under 38 U.S.C. 1728 1725. We need to identify the transport to ensure the drop-off location was a non-VA emergency facility. And then we need to confirm that the rest of eligibility is met under 1728 or 1725. This brings us to our second and final topic of this recording. Do we resolve or refer the claim? In this lesson, we will discuss ambulance-only claims when an episode of care cannot be identified. We will cover the resolve actions and the refer actions. Because ambulance claims are often billed separately from the facility, we generally tend to get their claims first and oftentimes without much information. So if after all of our research we are still unable to identify an episode of care for the ambulance transport, we have options depending on how old the claim date of service is, the from date on the claim. We can take a resolve action when the claim from date is greater than 30 days ago. We can add the denial reason 73101, ambulance provider insufficient evidence. Now, as I stated, this is after all research has been conducted and all resources exhausted to determine or define that episode of care. We can refer to OCC Emergent Holding Business Unit when the claim date is less than 30 days ago, the from date is less than 30 days ago, and our referral comment will be EOC not determined, episode of care not determined. How and when to resolve an ambulance claim. Once OCC has completed all actions necessary on an event, the clinical review, the auth creation, the individual claims for that event are ready to be resolved. Resolve actions include the following. Deny. It's used when some part of administrative eligibility is not met. For example, the claim was not timely filed. Force. The error is not applicable. For example, 1725 insurance error presents on an outpatient claim and the veteran only has Medicare A coverage. We would force that error as it is not applicable to that event. Release. We are requesting ECAMS to take another look at the claim, re-adjudicate it. For example, we saved an auth in the primary auth field. And then finally, we can also add a denial reason. In these instances, we have found a clinical decision or additional information is needed. For example, a clinical decision stating that the definition of prudent layperson was not met, we would add that appropriate denial reason. And it's an example where more information is needed. It is a 1725 episode of care with valid other health insurance, and we need an EOB. Long story short, if the episode of care is eligible, approved, or denied under 38 U.S.C. 1728, 1725, we resolve the ambulance claim following the same process as the emergent professional and facility claims for that episode of care. If the episode of care is eligible, approved, or denied under Mission Act or 1703, the ambulance claim for that event needs to go to beneficiary travel for further review. Here we have a copy of our standardized administrative template. When referring claims among the business units, having a template explains to the next person what information you have found up to this point. Each of these 1728-25 episodes of care require a standardized template. Ideally, the template is in the claim notes of the UB or the facility claim. However, if no template is found and the ambulance claim is being used to explain or define the episode of care, the completed template must be pasted in the refer comments. Remember, up to this point, we have researched the entire episode of care, because if we were unable to determine our episode of care, we followed the very first slide where we could deny for insufficient evidence or we could refer it to emergent holding. The data entered on our template has to reflect that entire episode of care, not just the data for the ambulance claim. For example, the rendering facility highlighted here. The rendering facility is the non-VA hospital where the care occurred. The rendering facility is never the ambulance company. This is the hospital where the veteran was dropped off. The from date for our event will be on the ambulance claim because the ambulance claim is the start of the event. So the from date on your ambulance claim will most generally match the from date on your UB, regardless it is the beginning of the episode of care. However, the to date is not necessarily represented on your ambulance claim. For instance, if a veteran was held for observation or if a veteran was admitted for critical care, the discharge date needs to be found outside of your ambulance claim. Follow PALM Emergent Claims Processing Guideline to ensure you complete the correct portions of the standardized administrative template depending on where you are referring your claim. However, if you were not able to answer the following questions, rendering facility, from date, and to date, you have not defined your episode of care. Now that we've reviewed the importance of the standardized administrative template covering the entire episode of care, let's take a look at the business units we would need to refer the 1728 or 1725 ambulance claim to. In cases where no decision has been rendered, if no other claims are available to refer and no other claims are currently in a review business unit, we would paste the completed template and refer the ambulance claim to the OCC clinical business unit. Again, this is when the episode of care has not yet been reviewed and no other claim is in a review business unit or available to be referred to a review business unit. The ambulance claim is our last resort for review. Clinicians don't want to see an ambulance claim. However, if your template is completed accurately and they have the information, they can. If the date of service is February 15th, 2021, February 16th, 2021 or later, and an entry in ECAT shows a 1728, 1725 status with no other claims available to refer, we can refer the ambulance claim to the OCC Clinical ECAT business unit. The only difference between clinical and clinical ECAT is that if the claim is referred to clinical and the nurse approves it, he or she must create the HSRM in the HSRM application. If the date of service is after February 16th, 2021, and the notification is already in the ECAT application, the clinician can review through ECAT and does not have to create it. The HSRM, the ECAT application will do that for them. So these two basically cover the same thing, the review, ambulance, only if it's your last resort and only if you're able to complete the template accurately. Finally, if no decision has been found, but another claim is in a review business unit, such as OCC Clinical ECAT, or OCC SC review needed, the ambulance claim will be referred to the awaiting business unit along with all the other professional claims for that episode of care. In some cases, the event has been approved, but we are unable to locate an authorization. If we locate an approval decision, but no authorization can be found, we refer the ambulance claim to the OCC Auth Unit Business Unit. Remember, the template again, that data needs to reference the entire event. In these instances, we found the approval, but there was no auth listed in the PA tab. There was no auth listed in the claim notes. If we find an approval in the claim notes that also lists the auth, either from Vista or from ECAT or from HSRM, the clinician or another VE has referenced an authorization or HSRM has been created. If it is not yet migrated to the PA tab, we refer our ambulance claim to the auth complete and put the auth number in the claim notes. And then finally, for our 1725 other health insurance, when the veteran has a valid other health insurance, if they need a secondary payer review, the event is approved under 1725 and an EOB or electronic EOB data is located, we refer the claim to 1725 OHI. Be sure to include where you found the EOB data in the refer notes. Here are a couple more questions. You can go ahead and pause to read through the questions and determine your answers. Describe a situation where we would need to refer a 1728, 1725 ambulance claim. And describe a situation where we would resolve a 1728, 1725 ambulance claim. In referring 1728 or 1725 ambulance claims, ideally another more applicable claim is representing the episode of care. However, if there are no other claims available, but we can still define the episode of care, we can refer our ambulance claim to a review business unit. We can also refer our ambulance claim to an authorization business unit to have an authorization created, as long as our template represents the entire episode of care. Resolve actions include force, deny, release, or add a denial reason. Any of those can be applied to our ambulance claim. Remember, the ambulance claim is processed just like the rest of the claims for any 1728 or 1725 event. Thank you for attending this training.